Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by today. My name is Allie Ward, and for this literature review, I looked at the preseason screening tools and whether or not they can be used to test an athlete's vulnerability to a lower extremity injury. A little bit of background here. A lot of sports teams will do preseason screenings so that they can test athletes' current capacity and for lots of different reasons. But one thing that would be really beneficial to include in these is the ability to see what injuries that an athlete was more susceptible for. It turns out that about 50% of injuries that an athlete sustains during a season are isolated to the lower extremity. Some a bit up into the core just because of the combination of the muscle use, but studies have shown it's primarily the lower extremity. And while there's many different testing tools that have been implemented in a lab to test for these vulnerabilities, we're just starting to see the crossover and really push for getting these into actual practical use for teams themselves. So to prevent these injuries from occurring, we need to find a modifiable risk factor to be able to start training or protecting that area against injury. So the studies that I've reviewed looked at college athletes across multiple sports, and while many of these options are currently available, they seem to have a difficulty in predicting or legitimately predicting an athlete's injury. My purpose for looking at this is to review the biomechanical and physical screening tools that are currently available or have currently been studied for lower extremity injuries among college athletes. For selecting articles, I totally looked at college athletes. They could play any sport. It had to be a prospective screening tool that started before the season and followed them through. Could have been multiple seasons, could have just been one, but had to follow them through the entire season. And then it had to include criteria for the lower extremity injury prediction. So if you look at the results table in the middle of the screen, you will see a table, and on the right it shows that none of these were really capable of predicting an athlete's injury. Some had problems and some showed promise, but there were issues with those with sensitivity, validity, and ability to do so in a generalized sense across the population that they looked at. So while these promising results are there, they were inconclusive and require a follow-up study to ensure that they are truly reliable and valid for predicting these injuries. So future studies need to look at a specific group or athlete population and develop an individualized testing protocol before we will be able to come up with a generalized one. And in the end, hopefully we will be able to come up with a multifactorial testing option that will be able to be utilized by multiple sports so that we can effectively predict athlete injury.